Lately, I've been enjoying finding massive survival island seeds with tons of different types of biomes, structures, and things like that. And today's seed spawn is on what is quite possibly the biggest survival island we have seen so far in 1.18 generation, as well as almost every single thing a survival player would want in their survival world. So hello everyone, this is Chris, and he spawned in right inside of this dark oak forest, which, again, would seemingly on the surface seem like a normal survival world, but actually is an absolutely mega survival island world, being around about 1600 blocks in one direction and roughly 1200 blocks in the other. Which honestly, if you have a dozen friends or so, this would probably make for a pretty decent style of world to actually play on. As I shall show you, starting off with this one ruined ship right here, which is just barely poking itself over the surface of the water. I mean, I can't really call it a sunken ship. I mean, it is technically floating over the water, but something that isn't floating over the water is this one ocean monument sitting itself right here. But back on the island itself, you actually get pretty much every single type of wood type, minus one being the oak, the dark oak. We have birch over here, and of course, the entire biome of birch just over here, sitting relatively close to this bamboo forest and jungle. And then way off in the distance, you actually get some acacia. So if you're not too bothered in not having any spruce wood in this one island, then that gives you 5 separate different types of wood types in one singular island. Okay, granted, it is still a really big island, but you know what? It still counts. Much like how there's, I believe, about 3 rune portals on this one huge island. This one, I believe, is the closest one to the actual spawn, and yeah, seeing as it is already relatively built up, we might as well see what the nether's like. Oh, and I literally just opened up this one chest. I promise I didn't put this in here, but you actually get the 3 obsidian needed to actually build in this one portal, so yeah, no hustle at all, as well as getting the flint and steel, so this is probably your best choice in actually heading yourself to the nether. And from the looks of things, the nether itself isn't too incredibly spectacular, but at least you have an entire overworld that's much more exciting and interesting. But yeah, only about 12 or 1300 blocks later, we actually finally get ourselves to the Savanna biome with the acacia wood, as well as our second Rune Portal over here. Oh, and I didn't really mention this yet, but there's actually plenty of waterways around this one island, so in case you don't want to have to do all walking around this one place, and there is an alternative around here. And also, I kind of love how this part is roughly the exact center of this one entire place. And if we continually head ourselves in this direction, we'll eventually find ourselves the 3rd rune portal right here. Sadly with no obsidian and a little piece of crying obsidian, so that first one is still your best bet. But it's still worth coming out over here for, first off, this plains biome, which is incredibly flat, especially for 1.18 generation. Like, I've not seen a plains biome be this flat in an incredibly long time. Oh well, at least it's not as flat as this pillager outpost over here. Mainly because not too incredibly far from this one pillager outpost, if you head yourself pretty much directly underneath it, or right next to it underneath it, then you will eventually find yourself a skeleton spawner right here, with 2 chests right here, with one actually having music disc 13. And yeah, it is in the deep slate layer, so mining this out, making a skeleton farm is going to be a bit tricky, but you know, it's at least good that it's here at all. It's almost like how not too incredibly far from this pillager outpost is actually a village over there, and a village just over there. And the acacia one, I guess, is kind of interesting, considering the fact that there wasn't too much spawning generation space that it managed to generate in a village at all. And the fact that right by it, there is kind of a cave entrance right here. And I can't really say much about this village either, only the fact that it is much bigger than the acacia one. But I guess what I can talk about is on the way to that one village, you'll probably come across this one waterway with this actual really interesting cave opening to an incredibly steep drop setting itself right here. And I don't know, it just looks kind of quirky, the fact that there's a cave entrance setting itself right in the middle of this one waterway. But I guess since we're on this edge of the island, we might as well talk about the other land you might be interested in heading to, not too incredibly far from here. And I think you have a pretty good idea as to what we are heading to. Yeah, you get a mushroom island pretty much just a couple hundred blocks from the edge of the one island. And granted, the edge of that one island is about 1600 blocks from the spawn, but still. And also, this island is actually fairly decent size too. I can't say for certain, but it's probably roughly around about 400 blocks in that direction by, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 blocks in the other direction, and you get another mushroom island, like, pretty much right next to it. So I guess if your mega survival island doesn't suit you, then maybe this mushroom island, which is actually fairly decent size, might. Wait, there's another one? I didn't even know about this one. Like, I knew about this mushroom island because I could see from the other island, but I had no idea that this one was a thing. Any more mushroom islands just want to pop out of nowhere and surprise me? No? Just these? Okay, just looks like these two. And if you thought deja vu hit you when you saw 2 mushroom islands back to back, then, wait until you see another, like, surfaced ship right here. Though this one is slightly more like a sunken ship, but it's still relatively easy to actually get the loot. But if you want to skip the hassle of getting the treasure ship map, then just head to these coordinates right here, dig down just a few blocks, and then you'll eventually get your Heart of the Sea, your iron, and everything like that. Okay, I know I've been jumping around a lot around this one island, but I think I found a pretty wacky thing to do with this one ocean monument, because not only is there another one not too incredibly far from that, but because there's several different types of big cave entrances that generate in around it, that means that one of these pillars actually managed to generate in much deeper than what would normally be. And I guess a use I could see out of this is maybe you tunnel yourself inside of here to actually do yourself a little bit of mining, and then, yeah, you actually don't have any serious worry of actually getting yourself any air. But if you're raiding this ocean monument, you might have noticed, Mainland just over here too, which, yeah, it's almost about 2,400 blocks to get to here, but I think the rewards of seeing this incredibly steep hill right here is pretty worth it. Oh, and of course, if you want to get yourself some spruce, and this might be a good place to do it too. Now, overall, so far, you could safely say that the majority of things around spawn or near spawn is, you know, things that a survival player would want. The only, niche thing that you might have to travel relatively decent far out for is actually the stronghold. Because you have to go all the way out at these coordinates to get to this one village, which is actually the one that houses the stronghold. Oh, well, I guess that's why we have the nether. And if you're traveling around here, you might want to pick up this one ender pearl from this one chest. But the more pressing issue is, where is the end portal itself? Oh, here it is. Finally found it. So if you don't want to spend minutes and minutes long just looking for this one thing like I did, then just dig down to these one coordinates and head to the end. But if you are wandering around, then it'd be hard to miss something that's just over at this direction right here, because if you head down this staircase past these two chests right here, down this one corridor, you eventually find yourself a zombie spawner. And okay, it's no other side, but still 2 cats isn't too bad. And I kind of glimpsed over this, but we are in a frozen plains biome, which does mean that in case you don't want to use the nether or something like that, then using the old boat on an ice trick might actually be a better alternative. Also, because I don't believe this is the iceberg, but I believe there is an iceberg that actually does connect up to relatively close to this frozen plains, or to yet again another mega island right here, which, you know, granted, isn't as big as the one we spawn on, but for an island as is, it's still a relatively decent sized one. Yeah, that was the iceberg I was talking about, and I could have sworn it was a lot closer to spawn, so maybe it's worth going in just that direction anyway. But in the case you are heading over here to maybe this one stony island or something like that, then it might be worth taking this trip around to the end. But, you know, from all this talk about leaving the center main island you spawn on, there's actually not an incredible amount of reasons to actually do it, apart from, like, the stronghold and things like that. There's almost every single thing a survival player would want from this one center island you actually spawn on. And with an island this big, there's absolutely no way we could find an island even bigger, right?